What's happening, guys? Welcome back to the channel where for today's review we're going to be checking out the Transformers Studio Series 86 Voyager class Scrap Heap. Now I know it's likely that he's the least exciting entry in this wave, but he is still a banging retool. So far I think Hasbro have done such a great job in differentiating the three Studio Series Junkions, because upon first glance all of the Junkions do seem to be pretty much identical in their designs, but as you check them out individually they all have their own unique design traits. So for a retool, it's really cool to see those kind of brought over to this figure, because if you were to compare him to his actual character model, to be honest, is pretty much bang on. So as we check out the details, the face sculpt I think is awesome, especially with the antennas which kind of stick out to the sides, and despite all of them having their own unique differences, they are all still easily recognizable as Junkions. You know, the color scheme is awesome, the spikes sticking out of the forearms, the saddle sacks strapped to the hips, those are really cool carryovers. And I love the leg design here for Scrap Heap, because check out these dual pipes on either side. These really do help to spice up the look of the bike mode. And as we spin him around here to the back, this is really where you can see most of the carryovers from Wreck-Gar and the previous Voyager. But look at the details that we have here for the back part of the head. This actually does become the dashboard of the bike mode, which I thought was pretty cool. So yeah, definitely a really well done retool. But let's check out what weapons this guy's packing. And in true Junkion fashion, we see the return of the wheel shields, which in addition to storing on the side of the arms, can also be tabbed onto the legs, which I actually think is a slightly better look for this guy. I know it's animation accurate to have them stored on the forearms, but this way I think it just helps to get them out of the way, especially during posing. And then in terms of some actual firepower, we have his concept art accurate blaster. And I thought this was a great inclusion because, correct me if I'm wrong, but I don't think we ever saw this specific Junkion actually use this weapon on screen. And this has been so nicely detailed, it's wicked to see them spice up the accessories then as opposed to those kind of spinning axes that we saw on the previous two Junkion figures. And it's also a decent size, so should definitely pack a punch when blasting down some Decepticons. Now, as we check out Scrap Heap's articulation, up first, the head's on a ball joint, so this will look up, it will look down, rotate side to side. The antennas, due to transformation, can be moved forwards and backwards, so can definitely become quite emotive in robot mode. The shoulders will move all the way around, they'll hinge out to the sides. Check out those gap fillers, they are so cool. There's then a bicep cut, an elbow bend, which can go to 90, a wrist swivel, although it is super stiff. The waist can rotate all the way around, completely uncompromised. Due to his transformation, technically we do get a fake ab crunch, which is awesome. The hips will kick forwards that far and back to that far. If you take the saddle sacks, move these out of the way, it does allow for a great high kick out to the side. There's then a thigh cut, a knee bend to 90, and then finally, in addition to the ankles moving forwards and backwards, they can also rock side to side. So with the addition of that ab crunch, I think he's likely to be one of the most articulated Studio Series 86 figures. But to see what he can truly do, let's now put him through the pose test. Now, as we check out some comparisons, up first we have the original Studio Series Junkion, Wreck-Gar. Now, as I mentioned at the beginning of the video, just to the casual viewer, upon first glance, these may only come across as being minor repaint slash retools of each other, but as you really get stuck into the designs, Scrap Heap is an extensive retool. So let's check out exactly what is brand new. The head is new, the chest, the shoulders, the forearms, the hands, the shins, and these tiny little pieces for the ankles. There's also quite a few internal components for the transformation which are different to Wreck-Gar, and this guy also includes a blaster than as opposed to the spinning axe that we saw with the previous two Junkions. So it's kind of crazy cool just how much retooling they have given to what is essentially just a background character, and it does make me kind of excited for if maybe in the future they release more Junkions, as I am loving just how unique the sculpts are between each other. Next up we have the second Studio Series Junkion, Junk Heap, and again there are even more differences between these two. So it is so cool how individual their designs are once you truly get into the details. And then for two general size comparisons, first up we have Studio Series Ironhide, and then finally Earthrise Optimus Prime. So the Junkion mold has always and still is a really decently sized Voyager. Now, as we check out Scrapheap's transformation, the first step would be to take a hold of the antennas and fold these here all the way to the back. Then you're going to want to grab a hold of the handlebars and rotate these here forwards on both sides. Then we can come down to the feet and fold these forwards until they do click into place on both sides. Then we're going to take the fists and fold these inside the back of the arm. So do the same here for this side, fold this here all the way inside. Then you're going to want to take a hold of the bicep and rotate it so the elbow joint is facing inwards towards the chest. So do the same here for this side. The next step would be to then take a hold of this upper chest unit and the head and try your best to separate it away from the shoulder joint. So just wriggle this here forwards, again making sure those antennas are nice and compressed. Then we can completely extend this hinge joint here all the way out so it's completely straightened. Then you're going to want to take a hold of the shoulder joints and bring these here backwards on both sides, which should then hopefully allow for enough clearance so we can take the windshield and begin to fold this section out. Now inside is an additional panel that again you're going to want to flip all the way forwards. Now these next few steps can be kind of tricky, so I'll try my best to show it off in as much detail as possible. You're basically going to want to take a hold of that fake ab crunch that I showcased previously and pull this here all the way down. Now with that complete, as we spin around to the back, this little tab is going to slide into that slot, so snap that into place. And in order to completely straighten out the seat, you're going to want to flip here to the underside and take this part of the chest and straighten this here up like that, which should then hopefully allow you to completely straighten out the seat so that it looks like this. Now this next step, much like all of the previous Junkions, can be a little challenging, as you're going to want to take the head and slide it inside this hollow cutout. So take this double joint and just begin compressing it like that, and then take the head sculpt and completely shift this here up, making sure that it goes into this cutout just like this. Then what we can do is line these little tabs up with these slots. Then you'll want to make sure that this here is straightened out like that. Then we're going to take a hold of these shoulder joints, rotate these here upwards on both sides, and now is where you're going to want to bring in the larger wheel. So there are two different wheel sculpts. One is a lot thinner, you'll use that for the rear wheel. The thicker one is the front wheel. So then you'll just snap that into this little circular port. We'll then bring the shoulder joint in. There's a tiny little T cutout which should slide into these little tabs. So just line those up, snap those into place, and do the exact same on the opposite side. And once that's complete, we can then snap that into the opposite circular port. Then you'll want to spin around here to the back, and what you'll do here is rotate at both of the thighs just like this, so the front part of the leg is now facing backwards, and now is where you're going to want to bring in the thinner wheel. So this, much like the front wheel, will snap into these two ports, and the reason why you want to use the thin wheel is because if you don't, it will not allow these two connectors to snap into each other. So snap that into place, make sure that base tab is also clipped in, and then it really is just a matter of lining up these knee joints. So fold these here up just like that, and these little cutouts in the soles of the feet are going to peg into those little tabs, so snap that in there. And bang! Here we have Scrapheap fully transformed into his Junkion bike mode, and it's looking pretty cool. I mean, not too dissimilar to the previous two, but some of the new details are awesome. I mean, check out the dual pipes, the modified cockpit up front. I really like how, again, the back of the head does become the dashboard for the bike mode. As we flip him here to the underside, you can deploy the kickstands, which are pretty awesome. So if you don't want to make use of these really sick spiked Junkion wheels, then you can simply just prop him up. And for weapon storage, it's as basic as it gets. The blaster does basically just attach onto either side, but if you have another Junkion riding Scrapheap, maybe this could act as his sidearm, which he can deploy as and when he chooses to wipe out the Decepticons. And as we check out some vehicle mode comparisons, up first we have Studio Series Wrecker, Voyager class JUNKION, who I think at the moment out of the three Studio Series Junkions has the best looking bike mode. I really liked how the shields of the robot mode did form the sides of the bike. I think that looks sick, especially with those additional Junkion spikes. Voyager class Studio Series Ironhide. And then finally, Earthrise Optimus Prime. So again, for a Voyager, despite this not being in scale, he is a really decently sized release. And so, wrapping up on this review for the Transformers Studio Series 86, Voyager Class Scrap Heap. It's a very well done retool. For a background character, I was honestly kind of surprised just how different he is when compared to the previous two Studio Series Junkions, but in terms of a recommendation, I'd say he's quite low priority when compared to some of the other upcoming releases, such as Concept Art Megatron, Rise of the Beast Wheeljack and Scorponok, and even Gamer Edition Starscream, because if you were to check out when Junk Heap was released, these Junkions don't tend to fly off shelves, so definitely don't prioritize him over some of the other releases. I'd love to get your thoughts on this Studio Series release down in the comment section below. I want to thank you guys all so much for watching, and until my next review, transform and roll out!